arrived. Indeed, it has taken most of the afternoon, but we are here. And it seems as though the Nkuhumas have killed something. What they have killed is still a mystery to David and I, because it is hidden in the corner and there are lots of vehicles surrounding the kill. So we shall go in and have a look and do some investigating ourselves once a little spot opens up. But for now, we will watch most of the pride sleep and wag their tails and twitch their ears. And if we're lucky, and we are lucky, we'll watch one suckle. They've got the most ginormous bellies. I can only imagine they managed to capture something quite large, maybe a buffalo or a kudu, perhaps even a zebra or a wildebeest. Like I said, we'll just sit here for the moment until another spot opens up. Now, I counted 5 cubs and 4 lionesses, but I think that there is still a lioness and a cub on the kill. Yes, I can see a little bit of movement in the distance, so we'll go there in just a moment. But you can see Madam Floppy Ear closest to us, and then one of the older cubs having a suckle. Now, can you believe it that the bigger cub that is suckling behind young Floppy Ear has just come back from feasting on the buffalo? Can you believe that there's space available in that tiny little stomach of theirs? I just think it is incredible. And you should not be suckling anyway. There goes. Another one's going off. I think, David, what do you think? Should we go in now? I think we can go in. A vehicle has pulled out, so it's opened up a space. Oh, but David, first, look, we've got a little bit of a sunset. I have to show you before we go. Look how beautiful that is. This might be it. This might be the only African sun we get to see today. But it is beautiful nonetheless. Look how bright that light is now as the sun is creeping lower and lower towards the horizon. Isn't that just absolutely lovely? I know it's not the best sunset that we've ever seen before. Perhaps it'll get a little bit better, but just in case we don't get to see one, I thought I'd very, very quickly show you. I think it's very lovely. I love that light. See how it's changing color? Sort of more orange, more reds, the further away you go. But we'll keep an eye on it. If the sun does drop through and it does give us some beautiful purples and reds, we'll definitely reverse and have another look. But let's sneak forward and see if we can get a view of this Nkuhuma on a kill. There we go. Looks like it could be a buffalo. It's just up ahead of us. Hi, little lion. Okay, right. We have to sneak around over here because the little lion has stolen our spot. What's your head, David? Yep. You good? Okay, before we even go there, we'll just sit and we'll have a look at this cub, just for the moment, because it's stolen our spot of where we can park so that we can see them munching away nicely on the buffalo. At least we know they got something decent. And you can tell by the size of this little one's belly that it is in no way hungry whatsoever. And it is not freezing cold. Freezing cold is not the word to describe the weather here. It's lovely, cool, and fresh this afternoon. So the fact that this little one is panting so hard is purely because, oh, big yawn, purely because there's a lot of pressure building up, and of course all that extra content inside their stomach now is pressing up on their lungs and their diaphragm. So short little breaths this afternoon for this youngster, but going back in for more. Yeah, we'll get a very nice sighting now. I think this other vehicle might leave us, and then we'll have, well, we can park anywhere then. But for the moment, it's just a little bit cramped, and we'll let them move around and decide what they're going to do before we start moving too. But there we go. You can see them now munching away on the buffalo. But it doesn't look like there's much left from this angle. You can see that they've eaten around the ribs already. It looks like they've munched on the hindquarters too. Right here, this is our opportunity, David. We can now reposition. Oh, this is going to be perfect. Now we're going to have a view of both sides. Hello, Nkuhumas. So here's our missing cub and our missing lioness. So I'm sure that you're all happy to know now that all 5 lionesses are here and all 6 cubs are accounted for. It doesn't look like it was an old buffalo either. I think it was maybe a young female. You can see not a very big set of horns. Oh, one very, very cheeky cub standing its ground. So they probably killed this last night, I would only imagine, because a young buffalo wouldn't last this entire pride very long, as you can see. They're feeding on the last bits of this carcass now. When they start to chew around the neck like that and go towards the face, you know that there really, really isn't much left on this carcass. Now, if you have just tuned in, and of course this can be a little bit gruesome at times, just remember that unfortunately this is nature, and in order for these young cubs to survive, the adults do need to take down animals. Remember, this is wild. We don't intervene. We don't feed them. This is raw. So if they can't catch something, then unfortunately they will starve too. And it's becoming more and more difficult for them, though, to catch these buffalo. But you saw her earlier using a carnassial shear, so scissoring with those teeth, trying to cut through the hard hide, and then eventually tearing open the hide and then trying to pull away at some flesh. But it's proving a little bit more on the difficult side, and it isn't easy for lions to eat buffalo. It is hard work, and we've seen this time and time again where we sit and watch them for ages before they are able to open up the carcass and start feasting. But at least they're looking a lot more plump than the last time that we saw them. They were very, very hungry. You can see this cub is tucking in, though, getting in between the small areas. And this is where these little cubs are lucky, is because their faces aren't as massive of the adults. Their jaws are also a lot smaller, which allows them to pop their heads into the smaller crevices that might be a little bit more difficult for the adults to reach. But it's all calm at the moment on the carcass until, I suppose, some more lions decide to come and join in on it. It is so quiet here. You could hear a pin drop. This is actually just so amazing, just to be able to sit and enjoy peace and quiet and watching and listening to these lions feast on this carcass. Now remember, we are on a live safari, and myself and Brent would love to interact with any of you who have got questions for us. So remember to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter with all your questions, or alternatively, if you don't have a Twitter account, questions@WildEarthTV. That's the email address you can send your questions through. And also don't forget that on the 1st of January, on Sunday night, for anybody that is in the USA, that of course we've got a series starting with Nat.Geo Wild, so be sure to tune in. And it looked like a little hooded vulture just landed on the marula tree. Here we go, you can just see it. Just keeping a close eye on to see if perhaps the lions don't get up, so it can make a sneaky move in and try and steal some little bits. Now what we're going to keep an eye out for as we are sitting here is, like we saw earlier, for any of the little lion cubs to do their big yawns for us, because Lindsay is wondering if the youngsters still have their milk teeth. Now their adult teeth should have started coming through already, but we'll have a look. We might even get to the point where we see them yawn and we can still see both sets, an adult tooth coming through and maybe a milk tooth lurking behind. We'll have a look. Let's see, here come, no one else is coming over. They've just a bit of movement on the other side now. And I wondered if it looked like Amber Eyes was going to come over towards us, but it seems as though she's going away. And is there a little pan here that they can drink from? I'm wondering. Let's go forward a little bit. Let's go see what she's going to get up to. David, you're good here?
Yep.
Just squeezing through a little gap. Now we've got a lioness on the move, so this is going to be fun. We'll see if we can keep up with her. It does look like Amber Eyes, hey? I think it's her. Hello, Leon. Are you going to take us on a little stroll? Now, I just need to keep checking the maps because I want to see if there is maybe a watering hole close by. I wonder where she's going. Right, let's go. Big belly's full. Still swatting away at all those flies, though, that have been harassing them probably most of the day. I don't think it would have been too bad, though. It hasn't been particularly hot. Let's see, where are you going? Maybe she's going to Red Dam. I don't know. She's jumping off the road now. She's probably going to take her own pathway. Now, Judy H., you were wondering if all the Christmas feasting could be considered as conditioning. Definitely. Well, if you're talking about us, that's exactly what it is. Hey, David, you're conditioning? But for the animals, of course, they just need to eat as much as they can all the time whenever there's an opportunity to. She just stopped for a little groom very quickly. I don't know which pan she's going to go to. I suspect that the only reason she'd be walking away, though, is to try and find some water. So we're going to try and follow her for as long as possible, and then we'll come back to the rest of the Nkuhumas. But it seems as though Brent is still sitting with the Styx Pride. Let's go take a look. We have indeed found ourselves at a little watering hole, and look who else we have found. And it is the lioness coming down to have a drink. Which pathway is she going to take? I think we may have got a bit excited, David. I think I'm going to actually have to go back a bit. What do you think if I reverse a little bit? Let's reverse a little bit because I think she's probably going to come down just on the other side, and we'll nice to try and get in line with her. Here she comes. Hello, big girl. None of the birds are sticking around for her to come and have a drink. Oh, it's so beautiful. Hi, big girl. And it's important for them to come down and have a drink after a big meal because it does help them aid in digestion. It is so beautiful with a reflection of the sky A reflection, of course, of this beautiful lioness. You may even be able to hear her lapping up the water. I can't even tell. David, can we zoom into her eyes quickly? Zoom, 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 zoom. Is it amber eyes, David?
I don't know.
Turning the radio down, so it's very loud in my ear. It doesn't look like it's amber eyes. She was very sneaky. I just got a quick glimpse. So it doesn't look like it's amber eyes. So she must have been one of the others that were fast asleep. But look at that bulging belly. My goodness, that is almost touching the ground when she walks. It's so big. So I can imagine how thirsty she must be. I didn't even realize how close we were to Red Dam. That's astonishing. Well, I suppose when you are a lion and you take whichever route you want to, not like us as we are sort of bound to the main roads, the proper roads most of the time. But when a lioness cuts through the block, firstly, she goes at an incredible speed, and because she doesn't have to loop around, is also much quicker. I decided not to follow her through all that thick vegetation, but just because it was, I thought we were going to get ourselves into trouble. There was quite a bit of, oh, sorry, I thought I heard something in the distance. There were quite a few bits of sickle bush and other trees that could have caused us to get a puncture. And getting a puncture in a pride of lions is not my favorite thing to do. And wouldn't have been the first time that it had happened either. I've had a number of occasions where I've had vehicles failing in lion sightings or having flat tires in lion sightings. It's very, very interesting, of course. And I think that the rest of the pride will probably do this throughout the evening, is that when they feel as though they would like to have a drink, they don't need to come and have drinks together. They'll just mosey on off, and maybe we'll try and follow them as they come back. Oh, and David said that it is very nice sounds that you can hear as she laps up the water. Let's take a little listen. And it's amazing how she is able to lap that water up too. Now, Ted, you're wondering if anybody has ever heard of a lion rupturing its stomach from overeating. I, as one, has never ever heard of that before, but you never know. The amount at which they eat is quite ridiculous, and I think if we as humans had to attempt to feast on the amount of food that they do, I think that we'd be violently ill. We'd get sick, if not our stomachs exploding. There we go. How beautiful is that? Isn't that just amazing? I don't know if it's possible. I wonder, though, on a cub, because those cubs just don't know when to stop. I mean, they feast their bellies filled of buffalo meat, and then afterwards they still have room to suckle. That always blows my mind, and it just shows you how much they're really able to extend their stomachs and just feed on the most, well, amazing amounts of food. And it's important for them that they do this because we don't know when they're going to catch something again, and well, they don't know either. And I'll never forget when I was down in the Eastern Cape. I always talk about the Eastern Cape. I loved it down there. And the pride of lions there, they didn't catch something for at least a week and a half, and you should have seen those lions. You could count every vertebrae on their body. You could count their ribs, and eventually they managed to bring down a juvenile zebra, which actually ended up saving the pride, because if it wasn't those two lionesses, I think the rest of the pride would have been in a bit of big trouble. So luckily for them, they just managed to gather the strength and give one last attempt and chase and successfully bring down a juvenile zebra, which saved the pride. And it's going to be interesting to see that if they do change their sort of pattern on what they love to feed on most. We know that they love the buffalo much. But with them all scattered out, I wonder if they're going to start going for things like zebra and kudu because there are a lot of them around at the moment. Even warthogs, as we come into, well, the rainy season's still about, but remember, the rain comes and goes very, very quickly, and before you know it, we'll be back in the dry season again. My goodness, madam, you've drank a lot of water this evening. You must have been a very, very thirsty lion. And I'm sure it cools them down as drinking a nice cold bottle of water does to us. She looks very comfortable there. It would have been nice if a couple of the young cubs actually decided to follow her this way. And it seems as though all the terrapins, there are actually a lot of terrapins moving around in the dam, but none of them are going towards her. Oh no, there's a brave one. Can you see that terrapin just to the left of her? There we go. Go back, zoom out a little bit. It's just there. There we go. Can you see it there? Look at that. That is an exceptionally brave terrapin. I wouldn't know if I wanted to go that close to a lioness. Especially because, well, she's a skilled huntress. She's not like those young cubs, or even like Hosana and Shongile, who are a little bit clumsy when it comes to catching things. Now, we often see the terrapins going towards buffalo, even rhinoceros, or anything that wants to wallow in the mud, even a warthog. They'll swim up to them and actually physically remove ticks from their bodies. But that would be a bit brave to try that with a lion. This is so stunning. Now, Abra, you are wondering, how long has she been drinking for? That's a good question. I think at least for about 5 minutes or so. But when they do lap up the water, I don't know if you've watched, it's a difficult angle, but if you see it from the side, maybe we'll try and have a look, is as they're licking, they're almost bringing the water up and pushing it in the back of their mouth. So it's almost like the back of their tongue, I don't know why I'm doing that so awkwardly, is like a spoon. No, she's disappearing now. She's had enough to drink. So they do need to sit there for a bit of time in order to make sure that they get enough to drink. But now, imagine if she wasn't full before, she must be exceptionally full now, because I know what I feel like after I've had a big glass of water, after I've had anything to drink. It makes me feel like my belly swells up even more. And now it's the long walk home again. Well, we'll try and follow her, but I think she's going to probably go the same route that she did when she came from the rest of the pride. So maybe we'll just go back around to the rest of the group and watch them and wait for her arrival. I think that will be the easier option. Make sure we don't tip David out. Whee! And she's probably already, oh no, she's still just about to cross the road. She's not going too fast now. Yeah, got some lights now. Okay, the radio's going crazy again, so we'll just need to listen to make sure we keep everybody updated. Ooh, there's a hyena calling. Can you hear it? Now, the hyena is calling far in the distance, and that's what she stopped to listen to on the middle of the road. You saw how she turned her head to the left. It sounds like that hyena is probably calling on Djuma somewhere, not too far, probably just on the other side of Triple M. That's interesting. So they're getting going for the night, which is nice. Maybe we see one on the way home this evening. Now, there's a few of you who are wondering